Okay, let's move on to our next talk. Will be by Mr. Bill Millis. Mr. Millis is the Acting Director of the Water Utilities Department of City of Stillwater.
Thank you, and thank you all for the opportunity to be here. I'm glad to be with you today. As I said, I'm Bill Millis. I'm with the City of Stillwater, and we own and operate a water utility, drinking water distribution, and a wastewater utility, as well as owning our own electric utility. And that's a little bit unusual in Oklahoma, but I think it's a pretty good benefit to the citizens of Stillwater, because all the more efficient at the rate we can pay for power, and then the rate that us as customers living out here pay instead of going, stays in the community instead of going to a company outside the community. But that also tends to make us in the city think, well, sometimes we think, well, power is free because we don't have to pay the bill on it, and we know that's not the case. And but sometimes it does make it easier to not consider the power cost of the facilities we do as strongly as maybe we should have. I am certainly no expert on the water and wastewater treatment and energy integration, but I can give you kind of share our situation and give you a snapshot of what the City of Stillwater experiences with. I'll go through a summary of some of our most energy intensive facilities, tell you a little bit about the cost of those utilities, and also touch on some of the things we do as far as energy efficiency. This map, it's kind of a rough map, but this shows the alignment of the Caw pipeline. It was built in 1980, so our water source for the City of Stillwater is Caw Lake, which is east of Ponca City, and we have a 36-mile pipeline which brings the water to our water plant. Now, for those of you that may not know, the OSU campus treats its own water, and the water source is Lake Carl Blackwell, and we each we serve as a backup to the other if necessary, but just for background, there's OSU treats its water separately, and the systems are not connected, but in an emergency we can connect to each other. As far as wastewater on campus, all your wastewater discharges to city sewers, and then we convey it to the city wastewater plant and treat it there. But back on topic, at the Caw Lake, we have a pump station there which pumps all of our water. That's 5 to 7 million gallons a day in the winter, and roughly 12 to 14 in the summer. Our water plant, you can see there, you can see on the mouse, it's on the north side of town. If you're curious, it's on Highway 177 north. Just as you pass under the turnpike, it's there on the left. And the big tank you can see is our raw water tank. As far as distributing water, once it's treated, well, at the plant we pump all that water, we pump it again. And then out in the system, we've got 15 pump stations at various locations to pump to higher elevation areas. And that's a summary of the water distribution, energy intensive. On the wastewater side, once we've distributed all over town, then we collect the wastewater, which is mostly by gravity, but we do have 13 lift stations which pump sewage up to a higher elevation, so then it can flow by gravity again down toward the wastewater plant. At the wastewater plant, which I don't think this map goes quite covers it, but the wastewater plant is at 27th and Brush Creek Road. So if you from 6th and Perkins go 2 miles east to Brush Creek Road, and then almost 2 miles south, and that's where the wastewater plant is, and it discharges into Stillwater Creek after we treat it. The raw water going straight into the raw wastewater going straight into the water bodies that was mentioned earlier is not the case here in Stillwater. As far as the cost of some of these utilities, it's something that we really haven't had the opportunity or the impetus to have to look into very closely. But I can tell you the Caw pump station, over the previous 12 months, we pay Ponca City Utilities, $170,000. So that's about $14,000 a month on average, just for that pump station. And I looked back to the summer of 2011, which was one of the hottest, driest summers on record. And just looking at 1 month, we had 1 month in that summer with a $36,000 electric bill. At moving on down the line to the water treatment plant, our monthly bill for last month, again, not the bill we paid because we'd buy it wholesale, but the bill we would have paid if we were paying the same rates as industries in town was $14,000 for 1 month. At the wastewater plant, was for January of this year was $35,000 for 1 month. So you can see that doesn't, I haven't added in any of the pump stations or lift stations, but just hitting those major pieces, that's 65, 70,000 a month in winter months. So it's going to be more in the summer because our demand is higher. We're producing more water, treating more water on both ends. I'll talk a little bit about energy efficiency. We had some of the steps that the city has taken. If you remember from 2009, the stimulus projects, the federal stimulus, we applied for about $13 million worth of projects, but a part of that was earmarked for energy efficiency projects. So we were able to apply for and win and execute projects to replace pumps at 2 pump stations and to increase piping at our water treatment plant, both to just increase the pumping, the efficiency of our operations and decrease the electric costs overall. We also have emergency generators for all of these pump stations and at the water plant. We don't have one at the wastewater plant because we're fortunate there we have 2 electric feeds. But so we have some emergency generators in place. Some of them are portable and run on diesel. The ones that are in place often will either run on diesel or on natural gas. So there's another energy component that we have to deal with. I know we routinely at when we're doing these generators or when designing facilities, say at the water plant or the wastewater plant, deal with the decision of natural gas versus electric. And we go through the same cost-benefit ratio that you might do at home when you're deciding to get a gas or electric water heater. Often, we would use the wholesale cost of electricity and compare that to the cost of gas. Often our pump stations are not, or they're not always right near where gas infrastructure is. So it may include extending gas lines a quarter mile or a mile. So we end up a lot of times, more often than you'd think, using electric heaters for buildings rather than gas. I did go through that pretty quickly, but I would like to open it up for questions. I apologize, I won't be able to be here for the whole event. I've got to leave just after 5 and get back for a city council meeting. But if you do have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
With the explosion of oil and gas activity in Payne County and surrounding areas, I live out in the country, so I know the rural water system is providing a lot of water to tanker trucks. Is the city providing any of that, or are the drillers getting it elsewhere?
Well, yes, the city is providing. We have bulk contracts with I think 3 oil field companies at the water plant, where they were. I don't know if you've seen some of the black piping laid in the bar ditches around the county. Some oil companies ran some of those from our water plant or buying it there. The city actually owns 2 rural water districts. Rural Water District 1 north of town, it's pretty small, and Rural Water Corp 3, which goes as far north as Glencoe Road and as far west as Lake Carl Blackwell, and even down Coyle Road down to 96th. So that's a pretty extensive system, and the city owns that. And so we've been selling a lot of water to various oil companies, either through permanent meters set at locations or through hydrant meters, where they check out a meter that can be attached to any flush hydrant out in the rural system. And so some of that water is sold at the rural system locations, and some of it's sold in the city. Yes, ma'am.
At what rate
Um,
do you sell it to the oil and gas industry?
For the fire hydrant meters are sold at the same rate that we sell to all customers, because we also check those meters out to construction companies and other individuals that want to buy bulk water. So that's just the set in-city rate. At other locations, it could depend, because I'm trying to remember if we sell anyone raw water, but the oil companies have the option to use raw water, untreated water, and that'd be at a different rate, because our cost to get that water is not the same. And a bulk contract could be negotiated. So it might depend on where they're taking the water, whether we've got to pump it to them, whether they, in essence, come and get it from us. So the rates are different. Yes.
How long will the Call Lake last? How long will it provide water for all of this activities in this area?
Oh, I don't know anything. I don't know enough about the reservoir as a whole. I know the city of Stillwater owns a water right of 50 million gallons a day, and for the foreseeable future, that lake should easily be able to provide that. We currently don't use nearly that water right. I think the max we've ever used is 18 to 20 million gallons a day, and that's been for a pretty brief time. So as far as water supply, we're fortunate here in Stillwater that, it costs a lot to go 36 miles to get it, but we're fortunate that we've got a good, reliable supply for the foreseeable future.
So is it fed, spring fed? Does it regenerate? Is it on an aquifer?
It is,
Last that long?
well, the Arkansas River runs through southwest Kansas and into Colorado. If you've ever whitewater rafted up at, near Crested Butte, Buena Vista, that's the Arkansas River. And so I've heard that it mostly gets pulled out for irrigation before it leaves Colorado, and that most of the water in the Call Reservoir is from southwest Kansas rainfall, but I don't know that. So it's got a very big watershed, but it's also, like you heard earlier, got a lot of irrigation demands upstream. Wichita's upstream. They take their water out of the Arkansas, treat it, and put it back in it. All right. Thank you very much.